All right, so 9 lies frustrated singles often tell themselves. So basically, this is more like the misconceptions or wrong beliefs or wrong ideologies that young adults believe. Yeah, so... Okay, so yeah, these are the misconceptions that stop young adults from getting dates or from being together. So this is something that we need to make sure that we don't get lied to by these things. So we've got 9 points and I'm going to cover 4 and Helen's going to cover 5. And then we can sort of add to each other in between. So number 1, drum rolls. Number 1. If he or she isn't interested in marriage on the first or second date, it's a waste of time pursuing it. You believe it or not, a lot of people do that. So they think, first time when we meet up, well, is he a candidate? Is he a potential? So it's just too soon, right? It's just too soon to tell. Because you don't ask your date to marry you straight after dinner or your first dinner, right? Otherwise, they might run away and then you will find yourself wondering why bother again. So some people actually do have some funny expectations. So why? Because you are rushing it. Because you need time to build good experiences, create happy memories, establish smart trust, resolve conflicts, and engage in a deeper conversations or reflections together. So things like that take time. The first week of the first month won't have enough time to give you all that to build this. These are the valuable building blocks for connections. Yes. And it takes time to form and grow like seeds. We just need to allow time. Even if things don't work out romantically, you've still gained something valuable. Like, something you learn and you learn to know a little bit about yourself or a genuine friendship with a person. To be able to gain an authentic friend will actually benefit you or help you in countless different ways, right?
If they want to stay friends.
If they want to stay friends. Well, I mean, you don't want to show all your cards at once, but some people are actually good to be friends, In other words, relax and chill. Enjoy the process of getting to know someone and let the relationship develop organically. If things don't work out as planned, don't take it personally, because a breakup may not say much about you, but rather about that person. So don't take things so personally. So I've got a couple of empowering questions for this point. Are you feeling the pressure to make it work? Why? What wrong beliefs are driving you to rush it? Is there anything within you that are not being reconciled yet? Please reflect on that. Remember, the ability to think deeper is very important. Yeah. Because what's the point of having a date and you just talk about whether your hobby, what you like, what they don't like? Anyone can do that. Okay, if you want to have a lifelong partner, you both just need to be able to discuss and think and reflect a lot deeper than a normal friends can. So another empowering question is, do you see rejection as part of life or the end of all things? Which perspective can help you? Being vulnerable is not a sign of weakness, but a result of your courage. Yeah. The fact that a relationship doesn't work out does not mean that you are not worthy of love. This is a big one.
That's a good truth coach.
Yeah.
Right there for after breakup.
That's right. Okay, number 2. If I'm ever going to meet someone, God will have to arrange it. Now, often we hear that God is our matchmaker, but the problem is we can become so passive in doing nothing. And I found a lot of good girls, really good, amazing, brilliant young ladies. Well, yeah, guys included, of course. But I think maybe sometimes we need to ask some girls, what do you actually want? A mail delivery?
Wait, was that intentional, the pun there?
Yes.
Yes. Some people just want something just get dropped on your lap, right? Am I actually scared of doing something? Why do I have to really shuffle everything back to God and say, God, if you don't deliver me a mail, then I'm not going to move a hand? What sort of belief is that?
Oh, it's very wrong.
And you have to realize that there might not be just one right one out there, but there could be many suitable ones.
Yes.
So don't ever don't believe that the principle of God's blueprint, meaning there's only one way, God will just like work it out in one way. I don't believe that. Just like sometimes you have to see life as a chess game. Within that, you have principles and rules and things, right? But you can actually play the game in multiple different ways, and you can still achieve the goal. Don't ever believe that God has predetermined everything in terms of your future marriage. No, because God might be just waiting to see how you navigate the world of relationships, or how you grow as a person, how you interact with a person. So if you're afraid of choosing the wrong one because of your past experiences or failed relationships, it's time to face those fears and let them go. Some young adults experience such anxiety about dating that they become passive, unresponsive, unable to accept imperfections, unable to engage in meaningful conversations, or hold unrealistic expectations. These unhelpful mindsets need to be reframed. It's just like you want everything to be perfect, but there's no perfect person in the world. So please revise your expectations.
Or you might stay single. That's the other side of it.
Oh, yeah. Or maybe you can look into your preferred qualities in the person, and then you start to look for those qualities. Because sometimes you feel like, well, where do I start? Should I go for some dating websites, or should I go to some other events? We've got nothing against that. I think it's good. I mean, if you know what you're looking for, but just to make sure that you know what you're looking for, the qualities that you actually want in the person, then you can go online, and then you can go on events, and then you can be proactive. We actually saw there are a few other, no names.
No names.
Just sometimes I just thought if they would be a little bit more proactive to engage some conversations, they might have a chance.
Oh, they're already in a relationship.
No, they don't even. I don't know what's in their mind. So my empowering question, or maybe a truth coach, is love is not a Hollywood fairy tale. It's a dynamic process that requires effort, understanding, negotiations, and mutual respect.
That's right.
The next point is, if I'm a Christian, then Christ should entirely satisfy me. You know, having that satisfaction in Christ is good. In the Bible, there is a thing called the gift of singleness from the Lord. But God doesn't intend for everyone to remain alone or single. He created us for companionship. And marriage is a beautiful expression of God Himself. So remember God's words to Adam, who was also single at that time and had a perfect relationship with God. And yet God actually said that it is not good for Adam to be alone or isolated. Like God said, I wanted to make him a partner, a companionship in Genesis chapter 2. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that God would do everything for you. He wants you to be active, to participate, to be proactive in the search for a suitable partner. Remember, God is not restricted to the confines of your workplace or your church. Okay, He can connect you with someone special anywhere and anytime. For some people, they want to get married, but then they deprive themselves of opportunities and chances. They just cover it up with the idea that, oh, God can satisfy me, I'm okay, I'm good. It's more of a cop-out, really. But a lot of people do that, and they just say, oh, no, I'm all right. But they are not all right. They would like to get married. But somehow they're too scared to approach someone else. Or maybe they gave up. Yeah. Okay, the last point for me. I can't enjoy my life without a man or a woman to be with me. Okay, this is akin to another one. If I'm not married, I'm nobody. So either way, some people are like that. I've come across so many people. First when they started dating, they just ditch all of their friends. It's just like no one else but you. It's like, that's so unhealthy. So where is the love and comfort of God in this wrong belief? Well, if I have a man, if I have a lady, then I'm all fine. Then where's God? Okay, reject the false belief that your happiness depends on finding a partner. Where is the identity and self-reliance you developed throughout your childhood and adolescence? So in other words, you need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. You don't need to rely on anyone. Okay, if you haven't yet learned to love and value yourself, and get a life of your own, how will you even like yourself, let alone giving love to the partner in the relationship? Remember, you need to be healthy yourself, that healthy, holistic self-esteem in God and in yourself. Yes.
What if people use that excuse, like, oh, I'm just working on myself, like, I can't find a partner yet because I'm working on myself, like, that excuse of, like, not being perfect for them, so then they don't feel like they can seek a partner? Yeah, how do they...
Well, they are allowed to do that, and I think it's a really sensible thing to do, but I will add a timeline to it. So when you will be ready.
Could be in 10 years.
Yeah, I hope that I will actually call it out if I get to. Okay, do you have a timeline?
Even in a relationship, I feel like you're always working on yourself regardless, right?
Exactly.
Like, it never ends, so you shouldn't be really saying that, you know?
Exactly. And then if they say, oh, well, I don't have a timeline, well, you need to add a timeline, and then I'll give you a recommendation.
6 months.
That's what I was going to say. 6 months is enough.
Yeah.
Okay?
You wait on yourself for this long.
6 months you can read 5 books. Okay? That will be, you'll be like ready to go, you know? Okay, well, what about this point? And if you don't even enjoy your own company, how will someone else love you in the long term? You will be quenching their love from day one. Do not postpone happiness until you got a fella. So no matter what message you might get from other people, whether they're married or single or parents, you are only redundant when you say so. Don't postpone your life hoping that someone else will give you the life. Don't ever think that. Get a vision, get interested, get some goals, develop some recreational activities, and get on with your life building your own fascinating identity and purpose.
So where did you get to, Stan? Okay. Right. And here's something I think, Christians can do this as well, but a lot of people in the world do this. The lie, if I can't have love, I'll settle for food or casual sex or casual relationships to comfort me. So I would say that you're looking for comfort and for your needs to be met in someone else. You're looking to be fulfilled with something external, where actually what you need to have a healthy relationship in the long term is to work on your inner self. You know, your relationship with God, your faith, your identity in Him. And then you get really secure. And then you're not looking to be filled, to be satisfied with, say, my next partner, someone else, this dream partner, or my job, or what I do for a living, Yeah, so it is best that you look inward rather than outward. Yeah, and of course food, like other things, they can provide a short-term comfort, like short-term fix. It's like any addiction, right? Anything you reach for is just short-term, but it'll bite you in the end because you perpetuate an addictive cycle and you get dependent on that thing to make you comfortable. And I think, you when you're in that cycle, you could miss the opportunities that come along because there could be somebody that's quite suitable for you, but you miss it because you're too busy fixated on those comforts. Because I think we're not willing to look and trade in short-term pain for long-term gain. We're not willing to do that. We're like, anything that's easy, I'll take. Yeah. So remember, the pain's always there. The pain of emptiness or loneliness or dissatisfaction that's on the inside. It's just always there, but it's just hidden and it's just suppressed by what you replace to comfort yourself in the short term. So short-term fixes will never achieve what you want it to. And to permanently stop the feeling you are so allergic to, you need to face it. It could be rejection, anger, abandonment, depression. A lot of it's attachment. In psychology, there's a theory on attachment theory, like if as a baby you didn't attach very well to your mother, especially your mother it is, then there's these 4 attachment styles, and the only one that's healthy is the secure attachment style, where the mother bonded with the child in a healthy way, and the child doesn't have abandonment issues and all sorts of things that come up later in adulthood. Yeah. So what you really need to do there is you have to tell yourself the truth. And you got to make sure you feel safe and be safe with people who do that too, to tell you the truth. Yeah. Also, just a thing with casual sex, you know what, say, if a person has a lot of casual sex, it's like when you bond sexually with another person, it's like two pieces of paper glued together. They come together and there's a really strong bond. And then when there's a breakup, you try to rip away the cardboard paper, and what does it leave? The glue actually tears away at each side of the cardboard. And so then that cardboard becomes thinner. And then you go again and you attach yourself to another person, and then you break up, and then there's that same tear again. And so the cardboard is getting thinner and thinner. And that's what it's like when, I think especially emotionally, it happens with two women. Women feel it more because, you know, we're more emotional. We are literally kind of giving away more and more of ourselves, and by the time we get to, say, our 10th partner, the one we want to marry, we're like, I've got nothing left. You know what I mean? And so much baggage to deal with. So that is the big whole thing of casual sex and hookups, and which the world really sees no problem in doing. They're like, it's fun, it's nothing, it's just your body. But it's so much more than that. It's spiritual, emotional, relational. It affects you so deeply on so many levels. Yeah, it's not just physical. It's not just a body thing and that's it. Haha, that was fun. Try it this way, that way with so many partners. No. So thank God for his truth and teaching. Yeah. So that's the thing about that. That lie is like, what are you looking for comfort for? It's actually on the inside. Number 4, not number 4, but point 4, but it's not number 4. It's okay, yeah. Oh, so you're keeping track. Someone's keeping track. Okay, this is very common. It's easier not to trust anybody. That way you can't get hurt. And I will say this person has been hurt many times by trusting people, most probably naively. You know, naive trust is when you trust everything about that person and you don't take the time to get to know them, and you don't take the time to actually open yourself up to them. You can't just open yourself up and tell them your whole life story on one date. You know, that's just also flooding the other person, and they'll be like, this is scary. And the other person with attachment problems will go, yikes, avoidant attachment, like they want to avoid those strong feelings and vulnerability. They're like, no way, this person's not right, I'm going to run away. So, you know, you can trigger all sorts of things if you go in too fast, too deep. And also a person who says this, I would say to them, if you can't trust anyone, you're already hurting. It's not that you're trying not to hurt by not trusting anyone anymore, but you're already hurting by not trusting anyone because you shut yourself off, you shut yourself up to that from the outside. Also, you shut yourself up from reaching outwardly as well as, you know, inwardly receiving. So you're just quite shut down. And then you become quite lonely, don't you? You isolate yourself. And then you feel like, I'm all alone. And you don't understand why, but there's a reason for that. Yeah. So what you need to do is, you know, kind of grieve over the past, you know, and admit that, be vulnerable and admitting that, yeah, I had trust issues, and get to the root of the problem of trust, and then learn how to trust wisely. You know, I've did a whole teaching on that. Sorry, getting hot. of learning, you've got to learn, you can reset, right? You can start again and learn to trust wisely and just do it in small little increments, right? And that, as Stan says, takes time. Yeah, and so trusting naively or trusting no one at all, that's just very unhealthy at both ends, right? So you want to balance by trusting wisely, not trusting naively, and not trusting no one at all. So what else is here? God did not mean courtship and romance and marriage to be a lottery where the stakes are devastating if it doesn't work out. It shouldn't be like all or nothing. You know, it should be like, let's take the time to get to know each other. If mutually there's an agreement there, and but both the couple are happy to take the time. I think there needs to be a time to define the relationship. You know how it starts with friendship, and then what did I say before? Friendship, dating, relationship, where there's engagement in that part, and then marriage. You know, there's 4 phases. But the world is like, wham, friendship, sleep with you, and we're in a relationship, yay! And then 2 weeks later, break up. See how it's so messy? But as believers, you know, God has an orderly way of how we live. It's actually can be it's structured, it's ordered, and there's one thing follows another. And it is good to follow how God wired us. And the world just rebels, right? It's just like, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do whatever feels right. And that is so devastating, right? So we follow wisdom and truth and not feelings. Yes. But here, gradual intimacy means the progression is only achieved as trust is built up. So intimacy builds up, progression only builds up as trust is built up. And how do you do this? You've got to balance expectations and values. So you've got to understand, what are we expecting from each other? Are our values similar? And that takes time to get to know the other person into. And there's lots of people who just leap into marriage because, number one, they don't understand what marriage is about, and they skip these phases, only to end up, I'm divorcing you 1 year later or 6 months later. It's just terrible, right? Yeah, so that's just the wrong way of going about it. So you really do have to know who you are and who the other person is. What else does it say here? The other nasty little twist in this one is a survival kit trick of testing their commitment love. So testing. Are you ready for commitment? If not, I'm out. So that's 2 verdict. You know, again, a lot of communication, a lot of mutual understanding. Okay, next one. If I like him or her, that means putting my heart and self-worth in their hands. So firstly, it's about your own identity and your own self-worth. Is it secure in God? You need to be secure in God. You need to be secure in who you are. And then you're not going to feel like, it means I have to, put my feelings and my self-worth, and it's all up to them. And if they don't tell me they love me, then I'm not loved. And if they don't tell me I'm pretty, I'm not pretty. That can be very draining to a relationship. If the girl or the guy depends on their partner to tell me that you love me, or I don't feel loved. Tell me that I'm beautiful or I'm not beautiful. That is such a codependent, toxic relationship.
Yeah, we had a couple of cases like that.
Yes, so both parties need to recognise that, and that it's unhealthy, and they need to fix it. Yeah. But also, it does mean that in relationships that you do take risks. You have to take risks. You take risks with your feelings and your opinions and your views, and you're trusting that person can reciprocate, with understanding, not with judgment back, like questioning you or whatever. Although that happens, but then how does it get resolved, And if time and time again relationships don't get resolved, there's always built up conflict and baggage and resentment, right? And the relationship just grows apart so fast. Yeah, so that's also unhealthy, right? So, yeah, so you have to be able to, so if you're quite secure in yourself then, and you've got a bit of life experience to know and read other people, then you can navigate it pretty well. I would say just not to react too fast and react with your feelings so fast, like to hold back what you need to say. Or normally girls mainly, would blurt things out, and be very cutting or very despising. And it's best to just like, I'm not feeling so good on the inside, but I won't speak my feelings until I've processed them. Yeah. But you can only afford to take such an emotional risk when you take a firm hold of the following truth. And also that their response is just mainly more about them than it is about me. So, because we could take it too personally, like, oh no, they're putting me down. They're not even listening to me. just mean to me. And then it was like, actually, if you stepped out of that and you're quite secure and healthy in yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, the way they're thinking is just so unhealthy. It's more about them. They're just projecting, they're just projecting their brokenness onto me. And I'm like, I'm not wearing that. I cannot wear that for you. It's your responsibility. So then where's your responsibility? Where's my responsibility? I'm responsible for how I react and I talk, and you're responsible for how you react and how you talk. And that's how a healthy relationship is, each taking responsibility. We've seen adults fight over such small things, and they fight and fight all the time. And they're like, you children, you need to grow up. You need to take responsibility for each of your own reactions. Yeah. But, because if we grow up in homes like that, then we're always, the habit of culture, like blame each other. It's, I get relief that way, but no, you don't fix things that way though. Yes. So again, my responsibility is about how I'm honest and how I'm feeling, and how do I communicate that? How do I let the other person know that in a calm and a more firm and a gentle way, not overly bearing way or with too much emotion. Yeah, so that is that. The other thing is, next point, a lie. Unless he or she has a religious experience like mine, we wouldn't be equally yoked. So 2 Corinthians 6:14 talks about being unequally yoked, and it's the picture of two cattle, having that wooden frame tied around their necks so that they could walk together at the same time, at the same pace, and they're at the same level. So you can imagine that wooden piece of, so it's a rectangular piece around the oxen's neck. The oxen have to be at the same height and have to be at the same size for them to be able to walk together, so that one doesn't pull the other or drag the other, or runs ahead of the other too much. So that's the Bible's idea of being if you attach yourself to a non-believer, say. Obviously it's talking about non-believers, because your faith level isn't the same, your values are not the same, your convictions are not the same, you just see things very differently, and you're always at conflicting, or you feel, I know a girl, she said she dated a non-Christian, and she said compared to dating a Christian, she should never go back, because she would like to share, she wanted to share so many times. She'd go to Christian camp and church, and she feels so much on a high, and she just wanted, when she went back to him, she was like, oh, if I share this, you don't understand.
Yes.
And she felt sad, and then she realised, oh, we're unequally yoked.
It's a big chunk of her life, and then you can share that with her partner.
Yeah. So anyway, we do know that Christians do date non-Christians, and for me, I personally see it as maybe that's where your faith level is at. That's where your values, your convictions, and your faith level is at. That's why you would choose to date a non-Christian, And some people you can't lecture. Of course, you can't lecture at them and teach them that, because it's just not where their faith and their values at. So I think we need to also, if they're already choosing to do that, that's their choice. We can't force them to stop. We can't judge, be judgmental with them about that. We just have to still remain their friend and be respectful of them, and just maybe more ask questions. How is that working, and how do you find, do you find what differences you have in values and convictions, and how do you see what God sees? What do you think the Bible? You can start conversations around that, just to kind of open their minds up a bit more.
Are they really fulfilled in
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Spiritually, are you being fulfilled in that relationship? But I feel like there are lots of Christians who date non-Christians too.
There
right?
are.
Yeah.
There are. Because you have to compromise, right? You do have to compromise.
You can't leave your
You
wife
can't
and
maintain
say,
your
I'm
faith.
going to church and
Yeah.
you stay here.
Yeah. There will be a compromise, so that's like prioritizing God, your faith, right? Where is that at? Yeah, relationships are hard.
Thanks, guys. You guys are already married. I'll just kidding.
I would say if God's in it, then in a way there's a grace. You have to do. There's just an
There's a
empowerment
grace of God.
towards us resetting and reconciling and working through things, because we just have that conviction.
Absolutely.
So there's lots of blessings to marrying a believer, who's equal
Yeah.
faith level and equal emotionally and all that. Yeah. There's merit in that, of course.
Absolutely.
That's why God says don't be unequally yoked. The thing is about the heart attitude, right? At the end of the day. Yeah, do we really want to face, do we want to change? What do I need to change? What do I want to change? Yeah. That's a big question. That's why people break up, because one or both they don't want to change. They're like, nah, that's too hard. That's too hard. I don't want to.